This programme was produced at and first aired on MPR, Manawatu People's Radio, with support from New Zealand On Air. Ka pai Irarangi Te Motu, MPR.
Kia ora and welcome to Reserved Recommendations, a show about problematic faves, great trash, difficult art, and our complex relationship with art and entertainment. My name's Hugh, I'm the host, and I'd like to put in a very mild content warning for this show as a whole. Sometimes our recommendations on this show are reserved just because the thing that we're discussing is in some way not good. But sometimes there are aspects to the art or artist that may be confronting for some people. Read the episode descriptions for more information and do be aware of your listening environment. You're back on another episode of Reserved Recommendations, which is a show about things that we like but would have a hard time recommending to a complete stranger without knowing their tastes. And I'm joined this time around by Kirsty Porter. Good evening, Kirsty. How's it going?
Good evening, Hugh. It's going really well, thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, for listeners who may be listening to the podcast at some point in the future, this is kind of peak craziness of 2020 so far at the moment. So
let's hope it's peak. The future isn't even more peaked than now.
That's right. People keep making jokes about plagues of locusts and things rising from the dead and meteors and things, but certainly it feels fairly peaky at the moment. Anyway, 2020 wasn't the thing that we had a reserved recommendation for.
We digress.
The thing that the person that you wanted to talk to me about is actually a local Palmerston North artist that we both know and have had dealings with in various capacities, and that's Jonny K or Jonny Can. So what was it that led you to want to talk about Jonny in particular?
Well, it's a really interesting topic, actually, this. What is it? Art that you like, but you'd find it difficult to recommend to someone who you don't know. Like this kind of a random kind of topic. I guess it would be interesting to hear the other versions of the show to see what other people say. But, as soon as you said that, Jonny Can was just the one for me. And I guess for very practical reasons, I kind of represent him in a way. I don't really represent him, but I run a gallery in an artist run space, and he has a lot to do with it, and he has a lot of his art there. So he's shown with us quite a lot, and I've had to talk about his work quite a lot. So I'm quite familiar with his work, and I often find it, relatively often, find it difficult to communicate his work to everyone. And I say everyone because I love his work, and a lot of people love his work, and a lot of people see his work and they instantly are drawn to it, and it's interesting work, it's good work. But there's also some people who just, cannot see it, and so I guess I've been there with him. With his work.
So, I mean, I guess an example would be that I did an interview with Jonny, I think about a piece of work that he had, or maybe it was either a piece of work that he had or an exhibition that he was going to be part of, one of those two things, possibly both. And in gratitude for that, he gave me a drawing that he'd done, which I still have stashed away because I honestly cannot think of the correct place to put it. And what it is
I hate to ask. I know you're good.
Oh, well, I will tell you what it is. It's Goku from the series Dragon Ball Z. So if people aren't familiar with that, it's a Japanese animated series about a race of people called Saiyans who can power themselves up and transform their bodies to become more powerful fighters. And it's incredibly long running and probably one of the most popular of those kinds of series. So it's a picture of Goku transforming so that he can have a battle, but in the process of transforming himself, he's like ripped all of his clothes off, hulking out, and he is completely naked and entirely anatomically correct. And that is like, and it's a really like enthusiastic and energetic piece of work. And I really like the way that it like steals from this monolithic pop culture property and recontextualizes something like that. But I honestly cannot think of a place where I would then put that piece of work in my house or at my work or anywhere.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, exactly the thing about Jonathan Cahn's work, is that he exists in that strange place where we are kind of have this infantile fascination with it, but at the same time, you know, we kind of feel like we shouldn't, maybe. Or, I mean, he had a head injury as a child. So he had a head injury, and he, in lots of ways, I think he was 5 when he had his head injury. In lots of ways, he's kind of stuck in that world of the fascination with making. He makes art like a child, and I work with lots of children and make art with children, and it's quite similar. His passion for making, his repetition, the themes that run through. You know, kind of he loves things that are really sneaky and really kind of juvenile, I suppose you could say. He loves pop culture. He loves remembering his childhood as well as sourcing stuff from today's popular culture as well. And he mixes it, he just chucks it all together in one big kind of mush up of an adult's desires and a child's fascination, you know, and it's all in one. And parts of that, doing that makes it awkward for some people, and I think that's where it comes from. People are uncomfortable with the idea of childlike fascination and adult desires, because there is quite a lot of R18 contact kind of mushing together, and that's where this issue of kind of, you know, having to explain it to people is difficult. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. I think that really is the kind of central reservation, is that some people do find that stuff confronting, and in some ways it's fair enough. But like you say, the repeated themes are really fascinating. The bit of his work that I was really taken with, because I saw several bits of it at Snails while I was there doing various things, is he got interested in the idea of like, he tried to explain it to me not super coherently, but he was talking about like building the city of the future or something like that. So he was working with all of these bits of, I think they were just waste wood, and turning them into tower blocks and vehicles and things. Oh, right. Yep. Right. That was a bit that he didn't.
It's his. I've got a really funny story. I hate to interject here, but I've just got this funny story.
No, interject away.
So this city is Palmerston North. This is his plan for Palmerston North. And one day it had been up this week, had been up in the gallery, and the show was over. And so I packed it away into a banana box, and it was sitting in my studio. And I was sitting there on Friday, as I do, and this man strolled up the stairs with a suit on. And he said, "Yeah, hello, I've got a meeting here with Jonathan Cahn." And I said, Oh yeah, right, okay. What time is he supposed to meet you here? And he said, "Oh, he's supposed to meet him here by, yeah, he's got a plan to show me. He's got he's done a model of, wants to submit a plan and to put into the 10-year plan." And it was the planner, like there was some planner in the Palmerston City Council who Jonny had rang up and said, I've got the submission for the 10-year plan, and he'd come along to come and look at the submission, you know. And it's kind of, in so many levels, that whole situation is quite golden. You know, the fact that we live in a city of 80,000 people, and so the city planner, like the town planner, would come to see this kind of thing. And so anyway, I went to my studio and I got this box. Oh, right, okay, I said, and I went and I got this box and I pulled it out and I started getting out, and for anyone who doesn't know, they're blocks of wood. They're beautiful. They're blocks of wood. He uses a wood burner, so a poker work machine, and he draws on the wood. So windows, and inside the windows there are people doing certain things, and there's lots of there's glitter, and it's colourful. It's blue and it's red, and it's also got lots of symbols of like logos and things on them. He's quite into popular culture. So they're really colourful, and they line together and they make a town, and you can build them in bricks. And so they're really attractive looking. So I got them out and I started moving them around, and, just kind of presented them to this town planner and said, this is it. This is the plan. I'm not exactly sure how it should go, but this is the plan. And he wasn't there, and I wish he was there, but he wasn't there at the time. But it was it was quite a good moment, actually. I'm not sure what he told his office workers, his colleagues, when he went back to office.
I've seen the future.
Yeah. This is it. We've decided. We're changing everything. This is it. Yeah. No, it's cool.
So, I guess I was going to say, you've had a fairly long association with Jonny and shown his work in various contexts and explained it to people. Do you have favourite bits that you think kind of channel what the appeal of it is for you best?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, there's lots of things I like. When I first met him, he kind of showed up at Old Snails. So this is probably maybe 4 years ago. He showed up at Old Snails with a supermarket bag full of pieces of wood that he'd painted on. And at that time, he was mostly into holiday shots. So he basically spent a lot of time at home on the internet, and the internet world had been translated into these wooden blocks, which in itself I find fascinating, because the permanence of the wooden block and the time taken to draw the picture into the wooden block, and it's there for life, compared to the internet. So the things that he were interested is on his wooden blocks. So there was ancient Egypt, usually with some spaceships. It was kind of this clash of sci-fi future and ancient Egypt, and New York City, and the Eiffel Tower, and all these kind of monuments, the monuments of travel. And but there's also, he was really into Sin City at the time, and so he would just screenshot situations. He'd build these worlds, and then he would screenshot it and make a picture of it, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of digressing, because I don't know if I do have a favourite, but I think what I like about his work, and I like the concept more than I like an individual work, is that it's kind of a window into what is important to him and what he thinks, what he's been doing. So recently, for instance, he was in lockdown. We were all in lockdown. Jonny was at home by himself, and I checked in on him a few times. We had Facebook video conversations, and I'd say, make some COVID work, Jonny, make some work, And so he's since lockdown, he's arrived with a plastic bag still full of artwork, and it's the COVID series. And so the buildings, everyone's inside, and there's COVID-19, and there's a kind of picture of the virus, and there's stuff on here, and when you go back through his work, you can see, all the things, the way that his world is changing, and the things that are important to him, and the developments that he's done, in a way. And that's it. That's the cool thing. It's just a reflection of what's interesting to him, and that's a really cool thing that art can be, So yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't answer the question at all, but
no, it sort of did, and I like the thing that you said about kind of a snapshot of the internet, because one of the other series that I saw go past was one where he was borrowing lots of images from, I think, pornography that he'd seen. But, this is stuff that's like, it's inherently ephemeral. It's designed to be consumed and discarded. And here's this guy creating snapshots of what it's like right now, which are then, literally burned into blocks of wood forever, which is kind of fascinating, because, not only is it ephemeral, but internet content evolves really fast, and so things date, and people's concerns and obsessions kind of date and transform. But he's kind of locked in a moment forever.
Yeah, and physical space too, because in the internet it's never really in physical space. He's taking some space up with it. Yeah, he's done a whole series of Instagram ones, which I thought was really cool. So they were inspired from Instagram. So people that he know on Instagram, and lots of pornography. He was really into wedgies and these kind of strange things. But he did a whole series of the Instagram posts, and they were actually they had Instagram branding on them, and they were like the Instagram scene, and sometimes they had the comments down the bottom and stuff like that, and it was quite cool too. So yeah, I guess in 20 years' time it will be fascinating. I mean, it's fascinating now. Don't get me wrong, but it's really like a snapshot of life right now, which is kind of flashing, before our eyes. Things are changing so quickly, so it's so important that we do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's neat that someone can like turn around, here is my COVID series, that quickly and that completely. It's without, I could imagine someone else getting bogged down in trying to completely represent the event somehow, but he's not, that's not the way of it. No, he approaches it very much like a child, it's kind of get it done, okay, you're going to do it, get it done, which is really refreshing, because I've taught, I've taught art in the past to both children and to adults, and that kind of ability to just keep that childlike ability to just move forward and keep on doing is sometimes lost in adults, and it's just not lost in him. He plows forward. He's not afraid to make mistakes, and which is a great quality, really. Well, that's the one, because you can't get good at doing a thing without being bad at it for a period of time. And he has got good at it. I think the most recent thing that he showed me was a table that he'd made, which was, he'd got interested in the idea of Pokemon, possibly because Pokemon Go was a thing, but he thought he would design his own one. And it was this fantastic, it almost looked like a totem, more than it looked like the animated things. Again, burned into a tabletop and painted all of these incredibly vivid colours. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's at Snails. Is it the one that's at Snails?
Yeah. I was at Snails to record something else, and he was there with it.
Yeah, and all underneath there's other things in every corner of the underneath, but there's whole other scenes. Yeah, it's quite amazing.
I think there's a thing I want to go back to at a slightly earlier stage of this conversation. You told the story about him pitching his Palmerston North of the Future to be like part of the 10-year plan, and that's the other thing that's always really impressed me and slightly taken me aback about Jonny, is that there is a relentless hustle there as well. I did technical assistance for a fundraiser for the Labour Party back at the last election. They did an art auction to try and raise money to get Ian Lees-Galloway re-elected, and Jonny turned up with an artwork that he donated to them on the spot to auction, which hadn't been organised before, that Grant Robertson ended up buying, that I believe it was something that was an award to Jacinda Ardern for keeping us safe from UFOs or something like that. But
really?
But he
and
turned
Grant
up.
Robertson, the current Minister of Finance.
Yeah, that's the one.
Guy.
And he bought it for $300, I think.
Wow.
After Jonny had donated it on the spot to be auctioned, just kind of out of the audience.
He's really not afraid of breaking all those rules, and I think that's great, like, I think we all need to be open to just breaking down those kind of weird barriers, like, especially in art, there's so many kind of Ponzi barriers. Sorry, I mean, I don't mean to be dissing the art scene generally, but, it's just, why not show up and do things, Why not just make art out of pieces of wood that you find in the rubbish bin? He's not afraid to do all that kind of stuff, and he's really not afraid to approach people and talk to them and show them his stuff. He's very, as I say, very like a child. He wants, like a child would like you to see things. I've just done this drawing. Look at it. That is there with him too. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and And there's a real generosity about that as well. I mean, you know, that's not just look at this, but also, you know, you can have it and you can use it to make money, and I'm for your political thing, and I'm quite happy for you to do that on the spot, you know?
Yeah. Of course, he would say. Of course. Yeah, okay. Yeah. He's donated a work, actually. We're about to do a bit of a build. We're building some studios at Snails, and we're going to do a crowd fund thing. And he donated a beer, actually. And it's funny because I was at the op shop and I found the beer. It's a bookend, like just a flat beer shaped bookend, you know, that was at the op shop in the 50-cent bin. And I found it and I said, Jonny, this is great. Anything wooden. I've got him into doing, you know, wooden goblets and stuff like that before. You know, anything wood that he can do. And I found that. And anyway, he made this amazing beer, right inside of it, beer, BEER, you know, and donated it for that too. And it's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah, and he was on his way. When he left, he was going to go and try and find another one. He was not try and find one. He was going to go to the op shop and buy another one because he's got to find the other one. You know, there'll be another one there. So, you know, good luck to him if he can find this other end, the other half of the beer book end somewhere at an op shop somewhere. If anyone has one, let us know.
Yeah. Get in touch with Snails and send it in.
Yeah, we'd love it.
So, how does the way that this is digression, but I think it's perhaps a fruitful one for talking about kind of where art like Jonny's fits in the world. How do you see the way that you work with Jonny and with his work fit into kind of what you see Snails as being for?
Well, I mean, Snails is for whoever wants Snails to be, really. And, you know, he's been there since the beginning. He's probably been the most kind of regular kind of punter. The person who's given the most. In fact, he used to come every Friday. We've had open days, and people kind of came and went on Fridays, but he always showed up. And so we ended up giving him the job of the janitor. That's what he decided, that he wanted to be called the janitor. We were calling it a cleaning job, but he decided that he wants to be called the janitor. So we called him the janitor. And he comes and does 2 hours of cleaning for us every Friday, because he was the one that actually showed up and just, you know, while he was there, we'd be like, just want to sweep the floor, Jonny. And so he did. And he's going to get a studio. When we build a studio, he's going to get a studio. I think Snails is there for precisely the kind of person that Jonny is. Someone who is not going to get a show at, you know, one of Zimmerman's or Te Manawa or Taylor Jensen, or maybe Taylor Jensen, maybe that kind of thing. But in fact, I think he has shown there a bit. And he will find it difficult to work with a kind of a commercial gallery in Wellington, even though I think that they might take him on. But it would be difficult for him to get his work down there and to, you know, communicate about which works it's going to be. And, you know, there's lots of things that he would find difficult. And so, yeah, we kind of just work with him, and, you know, that's kind of what we're there for, I suppose. Yeah, heaps of people love his work. We sell a bit of his work, not heaps, but the people that love his work, and, you know, they just really want to have it. And they we've got heaps of it. It's all in the basement, and, you know, people want to come and see it. It's amazing. Yeah, I think it's perfect. He's
excellent.
Kind of just part of Snails, actually. Yeah.
So what we might do is we might have a break now and come back in a second.
Support this show and others like it by giving a donation. For more information, go to www.mpr.nz/donate. If you're a fan of NPR, listening to our podcasts and live stream has never been easier. Just search for accessmedia.nz on the App Store or Google Play and download the app with the kiwi fruit logo. Once you've got it, pick Manawatu People's Radio from the list of stations and go find your new favourite show.
And you're back on Reserved Recommendations on Manawatu People's Radio. This is a show where we talk about art that we love, but would have a hard time recommending to people unless we had a sense of what they were into. We'll put it that way. And today I'm talking to Kirsty Porter of Snails about the work of Jonny Can, which is fascinating and enthusiastic and really prolific, but also occasionally difficult in a number of ways. Maybe continuing with that idea, I guess there's a thread that I'm pulling at here, which is the idea that it's really important to have places like you guys who give space to people like Jonny, because, as you say, I think he would have a hard time getting his work shown in other venues for all of the reasons that you were talking about before the break. But also, like you say, the people who like it really, really like it. And if there wasn't some way of getting it seen, then they'd miss out on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty unique. I mean, there are people interested in it who do want to show it in other places, and I think it will happen. It's in the pipeline. There's a gallery in Wellington who is keen, and a friend of mine who was showing in the gallery took some of his work down and showed them, and they're super keen. It's just that the only way that would happen is if I organise it, and if I probably take him down in the car and deliver the work and that kind of stuff. And it just hasn't happened because, just kind of got other things on. But there is also someone in Hamilton who came down and saw his show at the Fringe Festival. He had an exhibition at the last Fringe Festival. And at the time, Beck Coogan was doing a performance in the sock room, and she was the dealer. And so she was really good. She talked extensively about his work and sold quite a bit of his work, actually. And she talked to a guy who has organised, there's a gallery in Hamilton that really wants to show him too. So, the potential for him to do well is there. It's there. We just need to find someone who is willing to help him out a bit more, really. And it will happen. It will happen. One day, we'll see him on the front page of Art News, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
We're all waiting. We've all got our Jonny Cans around, our investment pieces. I've got about 5 of them floating around.
Oh, well, maybe I need to get myself one. It's definitely.
You should.
Yeah. It's as you say, it's a vision of the future.
Yeah. Well, you know where to look. We've got a few in the basement. Book a time. We'll set some up. Actually, the COVID series is pretty good.
So, well, that's a question. Is there a plan to show stuff coming up soon that people could check out?
There is a kind of web-based exhibition in the pipeline. So I'm photographing his work, and we're just going to have a show on the Snails page. So during COVID, we didn't have physical exhibitions, but we just had a web kind of presence. And he wanted to have an exhibition, and we didn't have any space, and so I said, well, let's just do that. So that will happen probably after Charlie Pearson. So Charlie Pearson is our next exhibition that's coming soon, and then after that we'll do Jonny Can. Whether we do a physical one, actually the program's all a bit stuffed up because people have kind of fallen off a little bit. So yeah, I think there will be an opportunity for Jonny to show some work, and there'll be an opportunity for everyone to come and see it soon too. So keep your eyes peeled.
Excellent. Do you have this is another direction I like to kind of try and nudge people. Is there a place that people can check it out now? I think he puts a lot of stuff up on an Instagram channel, but I forget what that is.
Yeah. I believe it's Serbian Grey Wolves.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Serbian
I knew
Grey
it was
Wolves.
something that wasn't entirely intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the best spot. He's a bit random. He's got like about 5 different Facebook accounts because I'm not sure why. He just kind of changes them every now and then. Something goes awry and he changes them. Yeah, so that's probably the best spot, I'd say. Or come in on a Friday. Come to Snails on a Friday. Come and have a look.
Excellent.
We've got some there.
If people do go and check out Jonny's work, which I recommend that they do, because as we've been saying, it's fascinating, and there's not really anyone else doing anything like it certainly in Palmerston North. Are there other people that you would suggest that people also check out, or other places that you would suggest that people check out if they're interested in this thing?
Right, so kind of similar to this work.
Yeah.
Oh, in Palmy.
Well, I mean, in the world, are there other reference points that you think are useful to look at?
Not really. I mean, my friend James Robinson is really into Jonny Can, and they have had huge, long conversations together. And in some ways, their work is kind of similar. Like James Robinson just does heaps of small stuff, and all the crassness is hidden behind like, slurries of paint and innuendo, I guess. Whereas Jonny doesn't have that kind of, this kind of censorship on him. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know if I can answer it right now.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess, Jean-Michel Basquiat, that kind of childish, naive style that they would say, that kind of colourful, blocky stuff. There's some New Zealand artists that probably do similar stuff, but yeah, I can't remember right now. Can't think of it off the top of my head. Sorry.
No, fair enough. I think the other thing, and I don't know where you would necessarily find this as a feature, but just the relentless magpie borrowing is the thing that sticks in my head. That's a big feature of it that appeals to me, because it feels to me often like our spaces get invaded by all of this stuff that companies want to push on us, and seeing people, turn that around and make use of it for their own things, which are at odds with that, is worth doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it is. You're right. It is. There's a strand there definitely to follow in art, and Andy Warhol, I suppose, is the the original kind of that kind of thing. In fact, some of the work that I like the most about Jonny's is when he takes an object like a piece of wood and turns it into a physical object. So when he first started showing with us, he was doing pictures on pieces of wood. So he'd get pieces of wood and he did pictures on top of them. And then he showed up and he'd made a series of kind of 80s video games. So they were blocks of wood, but he'd drawn every side of the video game on every side, including the top and the bottom.
Like the old school arcade cabinet type things.
Yeah, like the ones that are the size of yourself, big.
Yeah. And you find in fish and chip shops.
There was the power plug, and on the back there was a whole bunch of symbols and stuff like that, and there was everything on the front. There was the game and all the knobs and stuff like that. His parents used to own a Spaceys parlour, or I think a fish and chip shop that had Spaceys. So he was really familiar with them. He used to hang around them quite a lot, and it's ingrained in his memory. He loved those things. He played heaps of games on them, and he knows every single bit of that, that arcade game. He's done a few other things like radios. So it's like a wooden block, but it's actually a radio, like a tape deck and things like that. And he's done cans, like Andy Warhol. That's what reminded me of it. So a box of Milo, I think it was, that kind of thing. So he plays with those ideas. It's it's quite fluid. I think those ideas of what things are, and is quite fluid, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and sculptural, that blend between sculptural and painting too, or painting images and turning things into objects is quite cool. Same with the cities, that become a model.
And the thing that struck me about your description of the arcade machines is the kind of completeness of it as well. Because if I used to play lots of Spaceys in fish and chip shops, but I would really think of like the front and maybe one of the sides of those machines. I wouldn't necessarily decide that it was vital to like have the top and the back with the power plug and the bottom and have the object be like quite that fully represented.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about accuracy because on the bottom, quite often, also on his buildings, there's some kind of magnetic power source. So I think his buildings maybe float, and there's something about the way that the magnet interacts with the ground floor that actually produces its energy. So this is future generation of power. So he's come up with all these ways. This is solving the future of power. So usually on the bottom of his objects, there's these kind of, he calls it alien technology underneath them. So that's usually on the bottom, and sometimes on the top too. yeah, but very detailed. But still got a power plug. I guess it's just in case you need an alternative.
Or these are the kinds of things that have power plugs, and because they're those kinds of things, they have power plugs.
Yeah, exactly. We could talk about, I suppose, one of the things that is difficult about it is his interest in R18, he likes to call it, so pornographic material. And I guess in a way that's sometimes where it gets difficult. Oh, my dog's scratching at the door.
I have other people managing mine.
Right, yeah. Because he, as part of his condition, well, he got, he has head injury, and I think he's lost his discrimination. I think that's what it's called. I'm not an expert on this, and please, if I'm wrong, please, tell me. So he doesn't really understand that maybe it's not appropriate to have certain things in, say, for instance, a market where there's lots of children. So there's been a few incidences where people have complained about some things we didn't see, a dildo in the corner of a picture that has a unicorn in it that lots of kids really like because it's a unicorn and a rainbow, and then on the ground there's 15 dildos, kind of thing. And we perhaps didn't see it straight away, there's that kind of thing. And it doesn't even cross his mind, I don't think, that it would be inappropriate, perhaps. So, that's a really kind of, I think it's interesting. I think it's really interesting. I think it's interesting because it illustrates that that's a possibility. It's just it's a form of neurodiversity. It happens. This person, Jonny, exists in this world, and this is a thing to him. It's not important, So, painting a picture of everyone's existence, and he's kind of doing his work there of that kind of strand of thing. And he's 40 odd. And he's candidly honest about how much pornography he watches or consumes, and he doesn't give a damn about it, and there's something quite magical about that too. He just kind of lives in this kind of level of, I don't want to call it naivety, but yeah, just a different world from what we are led to believe is the way that we should be thinking, or the way that we should be, So I think that that's a really good reminder for everyone. It doesn't have to be about your consumption of pornography, but just that sometimes it's good to break those rules or break those norms and see things a different way, or not be afraid to just admit that actually you do things a different way and you're okay with it. You're okay with it. I think that's a really valuable lesson that can come from Jonny Can and from the kinds of things that he explores in his art.
Yeah, and the thing about pornography is that because it's all online these days, every so often pornography aggregators will report their hits. And so we have this kind of empirical proof that a vast number of people are consuming a veritable rainbow of pornography every minute of the day. And so it's not like he's portraying stuff that no one else relates to. It's more that they're not willing to admit that they relate to it necessarily.
I've heard that 90% of the internet is pornography. You know, I don't know if that's true. That was a few years ago, but this was some statistic someone threw at me, and with you know, kind of an element of credibility. Like, you know, did you know that? You know, I don't know if it's true, but I think a lot. You know.
Yeah, I would have no idea if it's true, but you know, because it's the kind of the ultimate ephemeral thing, and there is always more of it being made faster, I wouldn't be surprised if there's just huge amounts of storage given over to kind of disused pornography that's not like accessible from anywhere, but is just kind of stored somewhere in case someone wants access to it somehow.
Yeah. Someone's going to do some reruns at some stage, maybe.
Yeah, well, or we'll go back to ancient Rome and we'll just start having porn on the money.
Yeah. Make some more money like that, eh?
Yeah. It's an idea. It's an idea, and people collect those coins now, so there's clearly value in it.
Yeah, quite. Could be onto something. Maybe the money is in Johnny Can's art.
Well, that's the one. Invest, as we say, in the future.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to me today. What a lovely dog popping up in the corner of the frame.
This is Tui. She likes to sit here, and you know, I had been spending a lot of time here working from home during lockdown, but I haven't for the last couple of weeks. So, but she did get into the habit of just kind of hanging out here with me for Zoom meetings, you know, in the background, didn't you, Tui?
It's always good to have a Zoom mascot.
Yeah, quite.
Oh, well, look, thank you very much for talking to me today, Kirsty. If people want to, we plugged Johnny's Instagram already. That was the Serbian Grey Wolves. If people want to organise coming and looking at stuff at Snails, how's the best way to do that? Can you plug your things?
The best way is to message the Facebook page, to be honest, right now. Yeah, that's the best way. Or Instagram, just message there. One of us will pick it up and get in touch. Or alternatively, you can just come in on a Friday 10:30 till 2:30. That's when the doors are open and someone can just, you know, point you in the direction.
Excellent.
That's probably the best way.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Reserved Recommendations, a radio show and podcast from Manawatu People's Radio, Te Reo Irirangi o ngā tangata o Manawatu. The show is produced and presented by me, Hugh Dingwall, and I also composed our theme music. It's called Sack Jazz, and you can find it at wolfboy.bandcamp.com. You can find me on the internet at Objective Realty on Twitter, and you can find the show on Facebook under Reserved Recommendations. If you've got a reserved recommendation of your own, feel free to pitch it to me in either of those two places. And if you enjoyed the show, why not go ahead and recommend it to a friend? You can find past episodes at www.mpr.nz/show/reserved on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, Manawatu People's Radio is a non-profit radio station. If you enjoy this or any of their other fine audio programming, why not fling them a couple of dollars? Go to mpr.nz/donate for more information.